grips the mid-state. The dangerous temperatures we're facing in our Fox 17 Code Red weather alert.
A mother's outrage.
I have no words.
How long her daughter's killer will stay behind bars after she solved the crime herself.
The worst flu season in 15 years. The factors putting us all at risk.
A matter of life and death. What every woman should know before getting a mammogram.
And fear in the skies, the growing concern as we have seen more than a dozen deadly plane crashes since the first of the year. Fox 17 News at 9 starts now.
Middle Tennessee's only primetime news. This is Fox 17 News at 9, your Code Red station.
Bitter cold temperatures putting a freeze on fountains in Middle Tennessee today, and the cold air only going to get worse tonight.
And that's why we begin with a Fox 17 News Code Red weather alert and our Fox 17 Code Red chief meteorologist, Katie Morgan. I almost feel like we should apologize after all we've been through. Now this.
I know.
Sorry.
It's been a week. Yeah. Severe weather, flooding, snow, and bitter cold, all within 7 days' time. And fortunately, this will be the bottom here. This will be the coldest morning, and from here, we're going to be looking at a big warm-up headed our way. But unfortunately, we have to get through tomorrow morning first, and these are the numbers that we are facing. 9 in Nashville, 2 in Hopkinsville, everyone in single-digit territory. If there is a silver lining, always try and find it. It's the fact that the winds won't be quite as breezy tonight, so the wind chill won't be as much of a factor, but we're still talking about the single-digit temperatures out there. Live look on Broadway this evening, and again, clear skies, lighter winds should allow these temperatures to drop more. Currently sitting at 17 degrees, and I expect that number to drop into single-digit territory here in Nashville for the overnight. Radar is quiet for us as well. We continue to find some light snow showers now to our north and to our east. Different story from last night when we had those light snow showers moving through. Overnight, temperatures will continue to drop here in town. We're looking at 9, about 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and we will climb from there. The good news is we have warmer weather, much warmer weather on the way as we head towards next week. We will talk about how high the temperatures could be coming up in your Fox 17 Code Red forecast.
Is this sentencing justice for you?
Absolutely not.
Tonight in Operation Crime and Justice, an update to a story that you first saw right here on Fox 17 News. A mother who solved her own daughter's murder, police first ruled a suicide, is furious about the killer's sentence. Fox 17 News' Karen Aguilar, she broke that story, and she's joining us live in front of the Birch Building downtown with an exclusive interview.
Megan, the mom is livid because her daughter's killer will walk free in a couple of years. After he serves prison time, he is sentenced to community corrections, which allows him to be back on the streets. The mom tells me that's not something that she wanted. It's something she was forced to agree to.
I have no words. My emotions are everywhere. I think that I've been very angry.
Frustration from Jamie Dickerson on Donovan Holt's sentence. Her daughter, April Holt's husband and killer. A plea deal with the DA's office means he'll spend 2 years behind bars before 8 years of supervised release. His charges were reckless homicide, tampering with evidence, and false reporting. Why did you agree to this plea deal?
So I'm not sure that it was as much of an agreement or a backed into the corner decision.
Dickerson tells me the DA's office told her going to trial could mean less time behind bars, even seeing the felony charges wiped from his record. Dickerson says she also wanted to protect her grandson, Denzel.
In protection of Denzel, I needed to have him with me for 18 years.
Dickerson wanted her daughter's killer charged with first-degree murder. She says he tried to cover April Holt's death back in July, telling Metro Police it was a suicide. Police bought the story before Dickerson pressured them to take another look. With no luck. Dickerson got the confession herself by discovering Donovan Holt's fingerprints were found on the plastic bag taped tightly around her neck in their Antioch home on Cane Ridge Parkway. But that wasn't enough to put him away for good.
When Donovan was arrested, he said that it was a sexual act of choking and that he freaked out.
We reached out to Donovan's attorney for comment, but haven't heard back.
He is a murderer, and now he's going to be back on the streets because of our justice system.
We reached out to the DA's office to get a better understanding of the circumstances surrounding this plea deal. And they say they can't tell us anything until about a year from now. Reporting live in downtown, Karen Aguilar, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Well, Fox 17 News has been on top of this story for months now. You can see all of our reporting at fox17.com. Just search Mom Cracked Daughter's Murder.
Covering the Capitol now, Republican majority leaders in our state house are backing President Trump's efforts to reduce government waste. And they say that support for his new Department of Government Efficiency is firm, even if it means less federal money for Tennessee.
It's easy to get behind cutting government waste. I mean, who doesn't like to save money? But a new Associated Press poll finds few Americans like DOGE or how its new chief Elon Musk is going about it. But Mr. Trump and Musk have kindred spirits in the Tennessee House.
We've been preparing ourselves to handle that crisis if it happens at the federal level. You can't keep overspending. And so if they cut back programs and we need to fund different things, I think we have the capability of doing that. But every state that hasn't been prepared to handle that crisis should have been over the last 15 years.
The prospect of losing federal money is real. The administration has already frozen foreign aid funds, research grants for the National Institutes of Health, and fired 15,000 federal workers. This as it eyes the prospect of axing entire agencies like the U.S. Department of Education. Tennessee House Majority Leader William Lamberth is all for that last one.
There's an enormous amount of administrative cost that goes on with the Federal Department of Education. Just block grant the money down to us so that we can actually just do the job at the state. We're here for that. And we can do it cheaper, we can do it leaner, and we can get the job done. And the feds can then save an enormous amount of money.
And the state may get the chance because even if it doesn't disappear, it seems certain the U.S. Department of Education under President Trump will have less of a hand in our schools.
The recent string of plane crashes has some lawmakers worried. Now, a fired FAA worker is speaking out about President Trump's job cuts that cost him and 400 FAA workers their positions.
I do think the American public does need to be concerned about, not only my firing, but also the firing of so many public safety, national security professionals at the FAA.
Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal wrote a letter to the Transportation Secretary asking for the FAA firings to be reversed due to safety concerns.
New tonight, Delta Airlines is paying passengers thousands of dollars because their flight crash landed and then flipped over in Toronto, Canada this week. The company says it'll be offering $30,000 to all 76 passengers and 4 crew members on board with no strings attached. The airline says the offer also will not affect the passengers' rights. Delta Flight 4819 crashed and then flipped onto its side, like you see it here, at the Toronto Pearson Airport on Monday, injuring at least 17. Investigators are still trying to determine the exact cause of that crash. Continuing coverage now, as there have been 14 deadly aircraft accidents here in the U.S. just since the first of the year. 10 of those happened in January, the other 4 in February. The most recent one yesterday in Arizona, where 2 planes collided midair in Smyrna, which is about 30 minutes northwest of Tucson.
Well, you know the drill. We want to know what you think. Do you feel safe flying? 415 people voting on this tonight. 48.9% say yes, but the majority of folks say no. 51.1% say no. This poll is live right now. To cast your vote, you can scan the QR code right there on your screen. It will take you over to our X page. And these numbers are coming in real time. We'll show you updates a little later in the newscast.
From a new designation for Mexican cartels to cutting federal benefits for undocumented immigrants, the Trump administration continues to dramatically change immigration policy. I'm Christine Frizzau in Washington with a breakdown.
Former Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky says he is done after this term. We'll tell you who's already in the race to replace him.
This Fox 17 News Code Red Alert is sponsored by Sarah Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac.
In the border crisis tonight, cutting undocumented migrants off from federally funded programs.
Fox 17 News' Christine Frizzell takes a look at this and other new measures under President Trump's immigration crackdown.
Along the southern border, U.S. Marines assist with new wall construction as a major overhaul inside the country carries on, the remaking of the U.S. immigration system.
Our first and most urgent mission is to remove the criminals that Biden allowed into our country with the ridiculous and very dangerous open borders policy.
A brand new executive order takes aim at blocking all undocumented migrants from using federal programs, ordering agencies to, quote, identify all federally funded programs currently providing financial benefits to illegal aliens. A likely target? The more than 900,000 people who use the CBP One app to come into the country under President Biden's parole program, which granted temporary protected status to those from countries like Ukraine, Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Immigrant advocates warning of the impact of the new executive order.
When you cut people off from a legal access to get food and bare necessities, then they turn to an underground, which could lead to more crime or to more unhealthy children or disease within our different communities. So therefore, he's only harming the Americans that are here.
Another major change from the Trump White House, designating the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua as a foreign terrorist organization, along with MS-13 and several Mexican cartels, including the Sinaloa and Jalisco cartels, which could lead to financial sanctions against the groups and those who are linked to them.
They killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. They've killed thousands of journalists and politicians and judges. So they're acting like terrorists. They are terrorists.
Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum is responding, warning the United States against using the foreign terrorist designation to violate Mexico's sovereignty, saying, quote, with Mexico, it is collaboration and coordination, never subordination or interventionism, and even less, invasion. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzell.
New tonight, after more than 40 years in the U.S. Senate, Mitch McConnell of Kentucky says this will be his last term. The former GOP majority leader announced today that he will not be running for re-election. He's already been elected to Congress 7 times. In 2023, McConnell became the longest-serving Senate party leader in history. Former Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron is already in the race to succeed McConnell.
All right, brace yourselves. We are not out of this quite yet. After the flooding and the snowfall, we are dealing with dangerously cold temperatures.
Close to record low, in fact, for tomorrow morning. The forecast is 9, record low is 6.
Right there, yeah.
Yeah, we're not too far away from it. That's set back in 1963. But things quiet for now. Thankfully, it's the cold that we are focused on. You can still see on grassy surfaces a lot of light snow that's left over, but that will start to melt quite a bit for Friday, and if it doesn't melt tomorrow all the way, it will by Saturday. But overnight, again, isolated slick spots may be possible. We're not expecting widespread issues, though, on those roads anymore. A lot of them are dry. As we take you through tomorrow morning here, the next 24 hours for Crossville, Clarksville, and Nashville, our temperature hovering right around 9-10 degrees. The wind chill around 10. For Clarksville, negative value wind chills, 5 with a feels like of 3. And at Crossville, 9 with a feels like of 1. So a bit of a breeze will add an extra chill, if you will, in the air. Although I feel like that's putting it mildly. But we will be looking at quite cold conditions for tomorrow morning. And then we get into the afternoon. You can see those numbers climb just at or above freezing for a lot of places, including Nashville, Crossville. Clarksville may be just below that freezing mark. And again, wind chill's not too much of a factor as we go through the afternoon hours into Friday night here. This is at 9 p.m. You can see temperatures again starting to drop back. We'll look at another cold night for early Saturday morning, but again, we'll be on the upward swing by then. So coldest air of the season moving in overnight. Then the nice big warming trend is on the way. We'll take a look too when our next good chance for rain is. But first, let's all collectively groan at South Florida right now, sitting at 66 in Miami. Even Tampa not bad at 54 while we sit in the low teens. for the overnight. Friday, our temperature around 22 at 10 o'clock. We're looking at 32 by the afternoon hours and just above freezing. That should be where we end up for the day, right around 33, 34 degrees with plenty of sunshine and a relatively light wind. That'll be thanks to a big area of high pressure that'll build in as we go through Friday morning, midday, and that high will stick around. It'll keep us mainly clear to partly cloudy for the weekend. Saturday looking great, Sunday looking good. High pressure keeping those showers closer to the coastline as we go through Sunday and into early Monday. So overall, look at this nice stair step as we head towards early next week. We go from 34 tomorrow for the afternoon high to 66 by Tuesday. And right in the middle of this line here is our average line telling us what is typical for this time of year. And we're kind of all over the place here, but at least we are looking at relatively dry conditions. I don't see any rain chances for this whole stretch until we get into maybe Wednesday and Thursday of next week. It looks like we'll start to see a chance for showers developing. Dare I say, I was looking at some long-range models. Nothing is jumping out at me, but I would say that we can't completely put winter weather away for the season just yet. There are a few systems that look like rainmakers for us, but a lot of time between now and then we could see those shift and some colder air possible as we head into the next couple of weeks as well. Too early to say that we're done with winter just yet. Temperatures overnight around 9 here in Nashville. We're looking at a couple clouds around, otherwise just a bitter cold night ahead. We'll talk more about what we can expect over the next few weeks. We'll have a look at what the Climate Prediction Center is saying as far as our average temperature, whether they're going to be a little above average, a little below average. That coming up in your Fox 17 Code Red forecast.
Doge checks at your doorstep. It's one of the ideas being floated by the president and Elon Musk. I'm Matt Gelka in Washington, and I'll have the story coming up.
Coming up Friday on Fox 17 News this morning, some of our mid-state high schools are already starting baseball season. We're going to tell you how the forecast is shaping up for some of the scrimmages. We start at 4 a.m.
Well, you could be getting a check in the mail from Doge. It's true, the Department of Government officially actually wants to give Americans a cut of their spending cuts.
Fox 17 News' Matt Gelka digs deeper into the proposal from the White House. And by the way, you can let us know what you think by scanning the QR code that will appear here shortly on your screen during the story.
Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency floated the idea of checks to taxpayers based on Doge's government savings. The president endorsed it this week.
There's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the Doge savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible, Elon.
Well, this is all going to be worked on through the reconciliation process with Congress that's going underway right now.
The amount back to taxpayers is contingent on how much Doge truly slashes from government spending. The group has claimed $55 billion saved so far, a number that's already being debated. But the slashes to the federal workforce continue. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has reportedly ordered the military to prepare for major cuts. Hegseth wants 8% cuts to the military's budget each of the next 5 years, a multi-billion-dollar number based on the $850 billion budget in 2025. The IRS is about to start laying off around 6,000 employees, targeting recent hires. The IRS had added more than 20,000 people since 2020. The cuts would bring the workforce close to 2023 levels. The government-wide downsizing is starting to get some pushback from Republicans.
I'm very concerned about the impact on the state of Maine on everything from our national parks to biomedical research. So this is a big problem.
Democrats continue to stew over the agency's work that has mostly gone around Congress to implement changes.
Well, Doge really stands for the Department of Gutting Everything, from healthcare to education to environmental programs. And it is absolutely something that people are going to have to stand up and fight against.
When asked about the potential for sending out checks, new Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the administration needed to focus on reducing the deficit first. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka.
Well, during that story, we had that promised QR code linked up to this poll asking the question tonight, do you support President Trump's plan to cut the size of the IRS? Here are the results on your screen. 463 people weighing in. 88.8% say, yeah, get rid of them. 11.2% say no. Thanks for voting.
Just ahead, the worst flu season we've had in Tennessee in 15 years. The factors putting us all at risk.
And lake effect snow in Tennessee, the factors making it all a reality. Well, a second child in Tennessee has died from the flu. That's according to the State Department of Health. And meanwhile, the CDC says this flu season is the worst that we've seen in 15 years. Dr. Todd Rice from Vanderbilt University Medical Center is here now. Dr. Rice, thanks for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So why does it seem like Tennessee is being hit harder than the rest of the U.S.?
Yeah, we've definitely had a severe flu season. And as the CDC said, this has been the worst one that we've seen for at least a decade, and 15 years is probably accurate. I think some of that is just we're in a little bit of a state that has fewer vaccinations, has closer contact with people, and the virus seems to spread pretty well in our temperature and our climate. As it gets cold here, people kind of congregate a little bit more and get closer together, and part of our spread was over the holidays.
Are there any precautions that parents and daycares need to be taking right now?
Yeah, the second death in the state of Tennessee, and there's almost 70 now in the whole United States. And unfortunately, if you look at the infant hospitalization rates, they're actually still climbing across the country. And so I'm not sure we're totally done with influenza and deaths in children, which is scary. There's a couple things that are helpful. One is, and this is really hard for families, and I realize this, but if your child is sick, not sending them to school, not sending them to daycare, and having them at home, and that makes it really hard, because for a lot of parents, that means they can't work and they can't go to work.
Great advice there. When do you expect Tennessee to turn the corner and flu activity to subside?
Yeah, so this is a setup question for me, because we've had two peaks really. We had a peak kind of second week of January, and we kind of thought, okay, it peaked and now it's on its way down, and we're going to still see some cases, but hopefully that was our flu season. And then we kind of got this bounce again in this double peak, and I think it correlated pretty closely with kids going back to school and the holiday break being over. We have just this week, at least in our outpatient numbers, started to see again a peak, and it started to come down this week for the first time in 3 or 4 weeks. So hopefully in the next week or two, we'll be talking about lower numbers and fewer cases.
Final question. Most people are riding the flu out at home, but at what point should they seek medical care?
Yeah, this is a great question. And honestly, there's like 2 or 3 main symptoms that should prompt you to go see medical care. The real big one, and the patients that we're seeing are having breathing problems, and they just can't catch their breath. And when they get evaluated, they're found to have low oxygen levels, and they need to be hospitalized for supplemental oxygen and care because of their infection in their lungs and their breathing.
All right, great advice there, trying to keep everybody safe and healthy. Dr. Todd Rice with Vanderbilt University Medical Center, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Our winter weather created a very unusual and really a rare situation here in the mid-state. I'm talking about lake effect snow. Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus here to explain exactly how it happened.
You may never see this again on a radar in Middle Tennessee, or if you do, it may take a long time for it to happen. It's not just that it's snowing. We have lake effect snow. Find the lake on the map. Find the big body of water that could bring in lake effect snow, like Lake Michigan, for example. We don't have it, but what we had was flooding in areas just to the north of where all the snow is settling in. Think the Cumberland River by Clarksville. We have a lot of standing water in general off to the north and the west, and the wind is coming down to the south and east. Here's our setup. These bands of snow can develop here because of that difference in temperature when it comes to water that is just to the north of where wind goes over it. Taking a look, here's the setup. We have very cold air over all of our land masses here. We have the standing water from the flooding. We take that cold air with the wind and push it over the water. The water then begins to give us condensation. We get some moisture, we build some clouds. That wind continues. When the clouds have enough moisture, they move back over the land because of the wind, and that eventually gives us the possibility of snow settling in. So yes, we have lake effect snow. How do we get rid of it? Either a change in wind direction or a warm-up of temperature?
I vote for a warm-up. That's one man's vote. Now, if you'd like to watch that explanation again, or maybe share it with friends or family, we posted a reel explaining all this with Greg on the Fox Nashville YouTube channel, so check that out. And while you're there, as always, we invite you to subscribe. I thought that was a very interesting explanation because I kind of wondered how that would happen.
Certainly. Yeah, Brett and I saw it starting to take shape last night, right at the end of the 10 o'clock news. And then it continued through the overnight. It's happened before, but it is fairly rare. It doesn't happen every year, but can happen. I was looking at some radar bands coming off of Kentucky Lake, actually. So it truly is lake effect snow. It really can happen anywhere. We just typically hear about it more, of course, up in the Great Lake region.
Wow. We get a lot of snow. I'd like to keep it up there.
Yeah, why are those weather phenomenons happening down here? Well, looking ahead to another big weekend of sports here on Fox 17. Buckle up. A lot to get through here. First up on Friday, we've got men's college basketball. Michigan State taking on their in-state rivals, Michigan. Tip-off for that game's at 7 o'clock.
Then on Saturday, we've got more men's basketball. Oregon taking on Wisconsin. That starts at 11. After that, women's college basketball action. Iowa State taking on Baylor. That's a 1:30 start. Then we've got pro soccer on Fox 17. The Los Angeles Football Club, LAFC, if you would, taking on Minnesota United at 3:30. And in prime time on Saturday night, more men's college basketball. Duke, top 10 team, taking on Red Hot Illinois. That is a 7 o'clock game.
And then Sunday, even more men's college basketball. We start things off at 11 a.m. with UConn taking on St. John's, and then NASCAR back in full swing. Don't miss the Amber Health 400 in Hampton, Georgia. That race starts at 2 p.m. You can watch it all right here on Fox 17. It's Team USA versus Team Canada, the thrilling championship game of the Four Nations face-off.
And something every woman in our viewing area should know before they go for a mammogram: how regular scans can miss warning signs.
The last time Team USA and Team Canada played in the Four Nations face-off, there were 3 fights in the first 9 seconds of the game. Clearly a lot of tension between these two teams, which is why hockey fans got excited when these two fought their way through the international tournament and made their way to the championship game tonight. No, unfortunately, the gloves did not drop at the start of this one, but there were certainly plenty of fireworks. Team Canada has scored first every game this tournament, and that was the case once again tonight. Nathan MacKinnon whips it from the top of the slot into the net to put Canada up 1-0. Team USA, however, able to even it up by the end of the first period. Brady Tkachuk gets the feed from Austin Matthews, lifts it home to tie it up 1-1. Team USA would then take the lead in the second period. Jake Sanderson picking up the rebound at the hash mark, whips it home, makes it 2-1 Team USA. Canada, however, once again with a response, ties it up shortly after. So 2-2 third period. I'll have more on this game tonight at 10. Vanderbilt women's basketball team back in action tonight, taking on 16th ranked Oklahoma on the road, where the Doors were heating up behind the arc all night long. Justine Passat there with the 3. Doors cut the lead to 6. And then freshman Michaela Blakes with the triple. She'd hit a career high 7 3-pointers in this game. Vanderbilt with a season high 14 shots from behind the arc, but the Sooners were just too good down the stretch. Oklahoma would use a 19-3 run in the third quarter to go on and win it 101-81 over Vanderbilt. 15th ranked Lady Vols also in action tonight, hosting 18th ranked Alabama on Rocky Top. Back and forth first half is neither team led by more than 7, but then the Lady Vols are able to hold on for their 20th win of the season, win 88-80 over Alabama. And the boys in gold open up the 2025 MLS season this Saturday against New England Revolution, marking the start of the first full season under head coach B.J. Callahan. The club was on the road the last couple weeks, wrapping up a long preseason slate, but now Coach Callahan says he's excited for this group to finally put it all together on the pitch.
We've made our initial steps in preseason to get everybody on the same page. I think we're confident that we've been able to accomplish that. And now we just have to put it all together.
I love that we get to have the first game of the season at home, and we're excited to show kind of the fans and ourselves, what we're capable of for this season.
Kickoff set for 7:30 p.m. at Geodis Park on Saturday night. Jill Jelnick, Fox 17 Sports, your Code Red station.
Live look from South Nashville. A different story from last night when we were talking about some snow on radar. We're going to dry things out and we're going to warm things up. How warm?
Also, we had a key factor in the fight against breast cancer, what women need to know before their mammogram. Nearly half of women in this country over 40 have dense breast tissue. The Susan G. Komen Foundation says that makes them 4 to 5 times more likely to develop breast cancer.
Well, a new federal requirement means women across the U.S. will now receive life-saving information during their mammograms. Spotlight on America's Lisa Fletcher takes a closer look at what comes next for these women.
More than 40% of women have dense breast tissue, putting them at an increased risk of cancer. Dense tissue can mask tumors on a mammogram because dense tissue and tumors are both white. It has delayed critical diagnoses in women across America. Density is a known risk factor, but little is known about why.
We've been working on dense breast cancer for about 3 to 4 years now.
Dr. Noelle Cutter is an Ironman triathlete in a class of women, by all accounts, in their prime, fit, healthy, and young, who shouldn't be facing cancer. Yet they were.
And that's actually what started my questioning of this, is why are so many of these women getting diagnosed with breast cancer. So I think that that's been a huge passion of mine, just kind of answering that question.
A question that launched her groundbreaking new research that could change the way women with dense breast cancer are diagnosed and treated. Cutter's lab found that cancer cells in dense breast tissue may actually be resistant to chemotherapy.
When we repeat treat them with chemotherapy, they're not dying. So they're not responding to the treatment as we might expect.
Dr. Cutter's research will be published in a major medical journal this year.
What's it like to be on the cutting edge of this research?
I never think of it as being on the cutting edge. You just go to work and work hard, and sometimes we discover some pretty amazing things.
The key, says Cutter, is catching dense breast cancer early with tools like MRI and ultrasound.
They're so portable, they're so effective, they're so affordable. That should be armed in every general practitioner's office.
But in many states, those essential additional screenings aren't covered by insurance.
The insurance has to have full coverage, no cost share, to get these additional screenings. And that's what has to happen.
Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro, a cancer survivor herself, is pushing a bipartisan effort for universal insurance coverage of supplemental screenings. Her Find It Early Act was introduced in the last session, but didn't come to a vote.
In order to pass a piece of legislation, you have to have 218 votes. And so that's why I always look at the external pressure on the institution of people, of organizations who care about these things, of putting the pressure on the members of Congress to support the legislation, which then can get past that finish line.
DeLauro says she will persist because with no federal legislation in place, 16 states, including California, Virginia, and Florida, have no laws to mandate coverage for additional screening, and many other states are inconsistent.
What's at stake if we don't fill those gaps?
Well, if we don't fill those gaps, women die. It's very simple. It's very simple.
For Spotlight on America, I'm Lisa Fletcher.
Well, Representative DeLauro is reintroducing the Find It Early Act in the coming weeks. She says the best way for her bill to pass is if the public reaches out to their congressperson. To find out how to contact your member of Congress, we put a link on our website. It's at fox17.com. Just click on Fox Links.
Well, we remain in our code red alert, tracking bitter cold temperatures for tomorrow morning as we drop down to about 9 here in Nashville. It'll be pretty close to a record low. Things fairly quiet tonight from our radar here. 2-day snowfall total, basically from a couple days ago, we were looking at anywhere between 1, 2, 3, up to 5 inches of snow, depending on where you were in Middle Tennessee. This is our snow cover from radar here, but I want to note an area that doesn't typically see snow, not this much snow, on the beach. Virginia Beach in the last 24 hours has seen upwards to a foot of snow on the beach. So this has really been quite the winter for the South, really. We've had snow in Texas, all across the Gulf, through Louisiana. Mississippi, Alabama, and into the panhandle of Florida, Georgia as well. And boy, it's been Alabama, it's been Mississippi. This has been a year. So the latest big totals coming in here off the Atlantic coast, Virginia Beach, snowfall on the beach. Very interesting. Today we hit 24 degrees. Let's take a journey back about 7 years ago. This day we were at 80 degrees. In 2018. That was actually, too, our record high. So, yes, we can hit. I actually had one of our producers ask me that a couple days ago. When do we see the 80s return? I said, it's not too far off where it's possible. So, yeah, it's possible we could be at 80 degrees. It's a record high, of course, this time of year, but it has happened in the past. The cold weather here is going to continue to move out. You see over the next 3 days, we're into Friday now. A lot of cold still across the country, but notice it will start to exit to the right here as we go into the weekend. Saturday and Sunday temperatures in the low 40s to around 50 as we head towards Sunday. So both days this weekend, I'm going to give you a thumbs up. Saturday and Sunday fun day. Saturday will be a little on the chilly side. We're only in the mid to lower 40s. We should be closer to about 50 for Sunday, which is still a tad below average for this time of year. For this time of February. But both days, sunshine, dry weather, it's looking good. So I'm going to give you a thumbs up, especially since I feel like we've been cooped up inside with the cold, the cloudy weather, the snowy weather, the rain, the severe weather. So it'll be nice to have a weekend here where we can be out doing some things here. We continue our warm up as we head towards Monday and even into Tuesday, high around 66. Wednesday and Thursday, mid 50s around, and a chance for a few showers will be possible. Now, I do think that we will be looking at a couple more systems coming in the next few weeks. And again, as I mentioned earlier, can't completely close the door on the potential for winter weather, but nothing right now that is screaming at me.
Time to buy when you will see the biggest sale on all those Girl Scout cookies.
And food assistance and junk food, the move to ban these and other items like it from federal benefits.
Coming up this week on Full Measure, President Trump promised to dramatically increase oil and gas production to lower energy prices. His first day in office, Trump declared an energy emergency and moved to expand offshore drilling. The industry is already gearing up for changes.
How important is the Gulf to you?
We've been in the Gulf of America for 85 years. We are increasing production 50% between last year and what we will see next year.
This week on Full Measure, Cheryl Atkinson examines how President Trump's campaign promise is playing out in the Gulf. And you can watch a new episode of Full Measure every Sunday morning at 7:30 right here on Fox 17.
In consumer news tonight, the Girl Scouts are about to hold their biggest sale of the year tomorrow. If you're wondering the date, just mark it on your calendar. That is 2/21 on Friday. The National Girl Scout Cookie Weekend will kick off. It runs for 3 days. The Girl Scouts cookie lovers can order their favorites on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday for either direct delivery, pickup, or in person. I've seen some posts on my Facebook feed. They're out there, folks.
Keeping junk food off the menu, the push to keep SNAP benefits from going towards unhealthy food.
In the economy, the Trump administration wants to end the purchase of junk food with SNAP benefits.
Well, Congress is considering laws to keep families from using the food assistance program to buy chips, candy, soda, and sugary foods. Some advocates worry about removing too many options.
Maybe you're shopping for groceries and you want to buy soda with your SNAP benefits because guess what? It's your kid's birthday and you want to have a sweet treat when you make a cake for your kid. These are choices that people should be able to make.
42 million low-income families use SNAP benefits to buy groceries.
I'm Kayla Gaskins in Washington. Coming up, we sat down for an exclusive interview with the new Israeli ambassador to the United States.